how am I going to live my life in a way where if everybody were to live the way that I live, we'd continue being able to grow as a species.
So now we wanted to step over into animals. Talk about how plastics have been affecting the wildlife, all of the animals that live in the oceans, live on our planet.
Yeah.
How our waste is causing them a lot of harm, and how we can possibly change that for the better.
Yeah, so right now there are 267 species that are affected by our plastic use in the ocean, which is a crazy number. 237 species, over 200 species that are negatively affected by our plastic consumption.
So what's some examples of
I
that?
have a perfect one. So albatross chicks, right?
Yeah.
1 in 3 of them die because when they are being fed by their parents, there's plastic in the parents' nutrition as a result of them eating fish who ate plastic.
It's
1 in
all
3 of
treated.
the chicks die. So imagine what the reaction would be if in our hospitals 1 in 3 people were dying because of the plastic in the water. It's the exact same thing except for fish in this situation. So, there's that. And so sea turtles and albatrosses are known as being the people who are most affected by it. Sea turtles, because of how far they travel, they're just more apt to be around those environments of heavy plastic. And then albatrosses, because they're flying to all the coastal areas, which oftentimes is where people are putting all of the trash. Then it gets flown into the central area.
Do you think it's possible for us to scrape the seas at all to try to collect that, or is that just too big of a project?
So there's a European tool that acts as a net floating in the water, sort of like a cleaner in a pool, how they have one in the corner. Imagine that, but floating around in the
Yeah.
ocean. And so we can slowly eradicate it out, but what you have to keep in mind is how expensive it is to create one of those devices and how much scale of plastic there is in the ocean.
The ocean's a massive place.
What we would have to do is completely make our plastic regenerative, where we aren't adding any more to it, and then slowly cutting back with all the devices that we can afford. So another thing too is that the fish that humans are eating oftentimes is hazardous as a result of not only the plastic, but many of the chemicals that are in our oceans. So
Really?
in terms of human health, I think places with heavy fish diets, first place that comes to mind for me is East Asia. Whether or not they're the people who are actually polluting it, their fish are going to be affected by this. So the livelihood of human beings is affected by the plastic bottles that we create every day. And
Same way the albatrosses are, we're eating fish who have eaten plastic, so that's poisoning
and
our
it's
diet.
not 1 in 3 of our children dying, but a lot of harmful chemicals that cause different problems for sure.
Does that show up when the person dies? Can we diagnose, hey, there was plastic in this fish that they ate, or does it get just grouped into food poisoning?
So plastic, but what's a lot easier to identify are rare chemicals that have no reason to be in the water. So you think about all of the different chemicals that are used on a golf course, those could be in the water. And so plastic isn't the only problem. You have mercury in fish that we can definitely tell when it kills people, but plastic is a bit harder to track because there's plastic in so much. How do you pinpoint it to the fish that you're eating? There are other situations where it's getting in the way.